evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Armoury. So I have got the United Barcelona game on in the background, so if I might keep looking over. But we are here to do an Aston Villa Arsenal preview. Let's ignore what happened 24 hours ago with myself and Arsenal. And I've invited a wonderful Aston Villa fan that actually is part of the Full-Time Sports Network family. Ross, how are you, mate?
Hello, Bobby. Yes, I brought my shield and helmet because I'm on the Armoury today. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to fight into this match with you.
Yes, it's going to be an interesting game, mainly for Arsenal, but I think Villa kind of need a little bit of, let's say, form turnaround, maybe. Is that what the best way of putting it for you? So currently with you, how are you feeling about Villa?
Yeah, well, exactly that. Before I was about to interject there, you and I had a bit of a conversation before we started the show. I went off on a complete rant because Villa have been so bad in the last couple of weeks, and I don't understand why. It's almost like after the Leicester game, our form started to turn around, and not for the good either. It started going downhill, and I don't understand that. A lot of it seems to be from player attitude. The system under Unai Emery seems to be working, but the players themselves, they can't seem to acclimatize to that whole system and the way he wants the Villa to play. And I can't figure it out, but it's so frustrating because more often than not, we are actually at fault for 90% of the goals that go through. It's all individual mistakes. It's lack of concentration. And it just seems to be a classic Villa culture where we let ourselves down.
Yeah. Well, it leads into my perfect first question for you, to be honest. How are you feeling about Aston Villa's season so far?
Wow. That's a hard question to get into because look, try to put yourself in an Aston Villa fan's shoes at the moment. We started the season under Steven Gerrard. We bankrolled his signings that he wanted in the I'm from South Africa, so it's my winter, your summer, and your summer transfer window, right? Yeah. And we spent a lot of money trying to get Steven Gerrard's targets in, which we can say we did. And it all just fell apart. And from looking at challenging for the top 7 in the European spots, and even top 10, it looked like we were fighting a relegation battle in the beginning of the season. Clearly, the board and the fans weren't happy with that. So Gerrard had to get the sack before the World Cup, and then we got Unai Emery in just in time for that mini pre-season, which was great. Unai Emery was seen as quite a coup for the Villa fans because he's a top-class manager. In my opinion, probably one of the top 10 managers in the world, just based on a CV at the moment. I mean, he's won the lot. He's done really well in the European competitions with Seville and Valencia as well. Villarreal before he came to Villa. And I feel it's tough. It's tough. And it's tough for me to get my emotions around this question because I started the season with a lot of optimism. I was very upbeat. Started getting a bit upset with Villa after our poor run of form at the beginning of the season, which led to Gerrard getting sacked. And it felt like we were turning the tide when Unai Emery came in, which was great. I mean, he won his first 3 away games in a row. It's huge. It's huge for Aston Villa to do that. And to think that we've got results against Tottenham away, it's something that's unheard of for Aston Villa. It's very tough for us to go away to Tottenham and grab all 3 points. And we did that. But now, after the Leicester game, where we had lost 4-2, it seems like the players' confidence started to shift and they started looking a lot more demoralized. And obviously, playing against Man City, all 3 of those goals, I would argue, are our mistakes. And that's a classic Villa thing where looks like most of our downfall is from our mistakes. But look, I'm not here to try and be downbeat and too pessimistic because I love the Villa. But I am frustrated. I'm very worried about what this means and our ramifications for the season ahead or the rest of the season ahead. Because now we're looking to try and break into at least the top half. We've got Arsenal now for our next game week, and then after that we still got a lot more hard, difficult fixtures, and to try and grind out those points to make top 10 is going to be quite the challenge.
Yeah, you might not like this next question, but I had to put it. Where is it going wrong with Aston Villa? Is it the wrong signings, wrong appointments, and is there any other identity with Aston Villa? I'll let you, Karen, because this is your club, but it's just my theory.
No, all right. Before I get into that, I'd like to know from an outsider's point of view, where do you see Villa going wrong? And then I'll follow that up with the answer to the question.
You spent a lot of money on players that I just don't think fitted for the system that you had. And obviously, you don't have the financial capabilities to just take a hit and go, okay, we'll get rid of him. We'll buy him instead now. You just don't. You don't have that. Once they're there, they're there. You kind of got to get rid of them if you can. I know that we were talking about before on stream the high earners. Digne is on 160,000. Kamara's on like 150. Coutinho's on 125. These are big paid players. They are going to be tricky to get out of that club if you want to build a new team. I'm sure that you would have liked Danjuma, because Danjuma obviously came from Villarreal, played under Armoury, knows the system. He would have been perfect signing for you. But that's what I think. Anyway, I think you've just spent money on not bad players, but players that maybe shouldn't have been at Aston Villa at the right time.
Yeah, well, it's exactly that. There's no faulting the owners for actually investing into the club. And it's not even the signings that we've spent money on. It's the infrastructure as well. I mean, there's major redevelopments for Villa Park that's scheduled to commence at the end of next season, which is great. I mean, that's amazing for Aston Villa. It shows that the owners are wanting to put more money into the club to bring it up to what you would call a top 10, or at least a European caliber club. We've also acquired 46% of Portuguese club Victoria CS, which is amazing as well, because that would become a feeder club for Aston Villa. This is great. So that's all good things. There's only good things happening at Villa besides the results. Unai Emery, amazing signing. We look at players like Felipe Coutinho on paper, look like to be a huge signing. Leon Bailey as well. Huge hype that came with them to the Premier League, and he's failed to live up to that expectation. And he is also on massive contracts. I mean, the only player from what you mentioned there that's actually worth the money at the moment is Kamara, because more often than not, he's been really good for Villa, and he's been holding that span of the Villa midfield, which is amazing. But I don't know. I would like to say it's the attitude of the players, because these players are seasoned internationals, which I've been saying countless times over the last couple of months. These players are not amateurs. These are players that have represented their countries at the highest stages. I mean, Emi Martinez has won the World Cup with Argentina. That alone has a huge mentality shift that you can bring to the changing room. But now the problem comes is that those type of players, like your Kamaras, like your Dignes, like your Martinez, if they can see the club is not performing the way that they expect it to, and the teammates are not up to the caliber where they need to be, they're going to be pushing for moves away. And then what happens is that the dominoes come falling down, and in a couple of seasons' time, if this happens and you lose your key players that build the spine of the squad, you end up going through another revamp, and you have to end up trying to rebuild the squad again, and that takes a couple of seasons. Then you go into a bad dip where you're fighting relegation. I've seen this all before with Villa, and it's a bad cycle. Right now, this season, and possibly next season as well, is the perfect time to cut that toxicity, build something positive here. But that's only going to happen once the players shift their mentality and start putting in a fight. Felipe Coutinho is a perfect example there. He came to Villa, he started off with a bang. Afterwards, he's really struggling to get us into the starting 11. Buendia is keeping him out, and fair play to Buendia, because we also spend quite a bit of money on him. So I have no problem in saying that a better player is keeping out another one just based on form. There's no problem with that at all. An example of that is Ashley Young, 38 years old, and he's keeping out Matty Cash, who went to the World Cup with Poland. And that's accredited to Ashley Young because of how good he's playing at the moment. But it's not going to last forever. We need to have depth of squad, and there's no questioning any of those players' skills. I don't like shifting players out unless we have to. Unless they really, really, based on their skill level, is not up to where we need to take the club, then fine. We clear them out, we take the money that we get from them, and we start to buy and invest into better players. Fine. But I don't like it and I'd like to believe that our scouting departments actually have the due diligence to do their homework before they sign players. But I don't like it once we end up just selling players because they have poor attitudes. I don't like that. There's skill there. They need to just change their attitude, or at least feel that they get influenced to become more positive, more upbeat, and more mentally better and ready for the Premier League in order to take the club and themselves to the next level. Because that's the funny thing about it. Look at Jack Grealish. Jack Grealish, before we went down to the Championship, he was playing quite poor. We did get relegated with Jack Grealish as when he was a youngster and he came through in 2016. It took him a little bit of a while to start getting that mentality of being a top professional. And what happened once he did? He caught the eye of most of the top clubs around the world. And that is why Man City ended up paying 100 million from him. Yes, he's got the skill, but he's also got that elite mentality that a lot of players nowadays in mid-table teams like your Villas, like your Crystal Palace, and arguably even teams like Leeds and Southampton, and I know they're fighting relegation, but they're all these teams, what they have in common are good players, but a poor mentality.
Yeah. You know, it's such a shame because, you know, Villa, obviously I'm from the West Midlands. I don't like seeing any of them apart from West Brom fail. West Brom, the only team I don't mind seeing fail. Only because I'm from Wolves. West Brom are the closest rivals. Got to hate West Brom. But other than Birmingham, I like to see doing well. Villa, I like to see doing well. Obviously, my cousin's quite a big Villa fan himself. So it is what it is. But we're going to go and talk a little bit about the game. I always do the last 10 away fixtures for Arsenal. Obviously, it's home fixtures for you, Ross, just so you understand. And it's not good reading for either of us, really, because it's a bit hit and miss. The last time we played you at Villa Ground, we beat you 1-0. Then you beat us twice before that. Then we beat you 3 times before that. Actually, with six games unbeaten before that, actually. So how are you feeling? Are you feeling positive, or are you feeling a little bit nervous because of what Arsenal are going through at the moment, form-wise?
Yeah, look, Arsenal have had an amazing season so far. In my opinion, they're probably the team of the season in the Premier League. That result against Manchester City was, you've dived away. You don't want to talk about Man City.
No, I was getting paper ready for later. Sorry.
Look, that result against Manchester City last night was definitely hard to take, but also it's an credit to show how far Arsenal have come. I mean, it was last season when everybody was calling for Mikel Arteta to be sacked, and the transformation that's gone there and the change of identity, and most importantly, the change in attitude and mentality has shown how strong Arsenal are. So this minor blip in the road to where you guys need to be, whether it's the top 4 or even the Premier League in the future, just is part of that growth. As a Villa fan, I'm not worried about Arsenal because I know Arsenal will always bring their A game no matter who they play, whether they play Man City, whether they play Southampton, whether they play Villa. They will always bring 100%, 110% actually, because that's what's got them the stage at the moment in the season. I do fear for Villa because, I speak about attitude and mentality. I think maybe the better word for that is complacency. A lot of the players may end up getting complacent because they're not getting challenged for their starting berth. So I do worry that the players might just not be up for the fight because on paper, they've probably looked at the 2 fixtures, Man City and Arsenal, and gone, and just groaned. I could be wrong, but their performance is what's speaking to me. And their performance shows me, or the one that I saw against Manchester City and Leicester for that fact, that they just weren't up to playing. They didn't show up. They were still stuck in the bus by the time the first half whistle went. And I don't like that. So I'm worried about how they approach the game.
Okay, well, we'll get into some strengths and weaknesses in a moment. Just want to get some comments because they've built up. Big up to Luke. He'll be back on form on Saturday against us, no problem. He is an Arsenal fan, so he's talking about Aston Villa will be back on form. He's having a very negative Arsenal thoughts at the moment. To be honest, quite a few of us are. It is just what it is. Emery versus Arteta. Too many matches up are dues Friday. Big ups, lads. Thank you, Moss. That is probably why I have actually put Emery and Arteta on my thumbnail for the watch along, because I do think that is kind of important, actually. Early Saturday match. I am doing the watch along, mate. Every Arsenal game I can actually physically watch, I will do the actual watch along. 2-1 to Man United. I know there's loads of weird stuff going on in the corner of my eye. I think Ten Hag got a booking and I don't know what was going on. But I was listening to Ross. I was being very polite and listening to Ross, not paying attention to what was going on in the corner of my eye. Always like Watkins. Glad he's playing. No VAR says no to Bobby's Union Berlin. Don't forget, Moss, I do actually Dortmund are my German team, not Union. I just like, I think they're a very good team, Union Berlin. So we'll get into the next questions because obviously I'm asking you loads, but there is still 4 more to ask you. So the first one is, what are Villa's strengths that could hurt Arsenal, in your opinion, Ross?
When we play direct, more often than not, we're very clinical when players like Mings or Kamara get the ball in the center from a counter-attack and hits it over for Watkins to chase. Watkins is a really, really good player for Villa. A lot of Villa fans are actually quite divided with him. Some are pro-Watkins, some are anti-Watkins. I, for one, am pro-Watkins because I like his work rate and energy that he brings to the side. He may not be the most clinical player or clinical striker because naturally he isn't. When we bought him from Brentford, he was a left winger. But I really appreciate how he presses the ball, even when the rest of the team don't press up with him. He does press the opposition to win the ball back. He uses his body quite well to either win fouls, hold up the ball from a counter, or to chase it and hopefully grab a tap in, which I've seen plenty times that we do. Right now, Villa are trying to build a new identity under Unai Emery, who I have to admit really, really is when they speak about him being statistical and data driven, you don't understand it until you see it for yourself. And this is what I can see how Villa is starting to transform, where we're starting to play out from the back and be more possession based. Although the players themselves aren't used to that, we're still taking a bit of time to settle in and their concentration may lapse. So we're not that strong yet at holding the ball against the top 6 opposition. I really do think the way Villa are going to attack this game and our strengths would be pace up front, because Leon Bailey, once he gets on his bike, he's hard to stop. Watkins holding the ball up, and just a little bit of creativity from Emi Buendia. Buendia can draw a foul in and he creates spaces because more often than not, he'll end up running the ball down the wing and drawing 2 or more Arsenal players to try and close him down. And that opens up space in the midfield. Villa have a double pivot, which is how we play. We play with the 4-4-2 when we defend, and when we attack, it sometimes switches to a 4-3-2-1. But usually when we have a 4-4-2 and our double pivots is of Douglas Luiz and Boubacar Kamara, it's quite nice because both those players are press resistant, especially Boubacar Kamara. You'll see him actually drop down to the box and collect the ball from either Emi Martinez or one of the centre backs, whether it's Mings if he is fit. He wasn't fit against Manchester City, which was quite a surprise because nothing came up in the news prior that he would miss the game. So he would either collect the ball from one of the centre backs, whether they'll be Konza, Mings or Chambers, because Chambers is our backup centre back, and he will look to distribute or break that first line of press from Arsenal. I do fear, though, having Saka and Martinelli almost direct the press might end up creating pressing traps. And we see those curved runs that the Arsenal wingers do make, and that might throw us off. But yeah, we are quite press resistant. So usually Kamara is able to break that initial first line of a press. We also have a set piece coach, Austin McPhee. I mention him because not a lot of teams actually have a dedicated set piece coach, and we have been horrible. We've been quite horrible at actually penetrating and making it or taking advantage of any set piece lately. But in saying that, we have been very good with our set pieces against Arsenal, and as what history tells us. And obviously, that's when you saw we had beaten you guys twice. And I think of those goals, I think 2 or 3 of them actually came from set pieces. There was that infamous one where Aubameyang was laughing, trying to mark Mings, and Mings just ran past him and scored. That happened a couple seasons ago. And we end up taking advantage, and maybe it's because of our height difference, because of players of like Tyrone Mings, who is 6'5", that's able to exploit that aerial difference or the aerial advantage. And even Kamara now, who's 6 foot. So I would say those are probably the main attacking strengths that Villa could use to try and combat Arsenal.
Okay. Has there just been a goal?
Yes.
Yes. I think Barcelona. So it's now 2-2. Sorry, it's just caught on my eye. I could just see loads of people jumping. I'm like, is there a goal? Right. Weaknesses that Arsenal can exploit of Villa's. And if you say Kamara, I'm taking you off the channel, because honestly, I love Kamara. I wanted him myself. I did a pre-season Arsenal fantasy transfer window, and I knew he was out of contract. I wanted him. I would have happily have signed him. He would have given a good backup to Partey. And I love that kid. So if you say he's a weakness, honestly, I'm taking off the stream. But no, what weakness?
No, of course not. Of course, I'm not going to say he's a weakness. I mean, I just mentioned the strengths. So I wouldn't want to contradict myself that way. And you're right. He's a really good player. And to think he's only 22 years old, it's insane. He's very, very good. I mean, he's starting at Aston Villa, which is crazy for a player that young. And it's good. He's a fantastic player, and he's definitely one for the strengths. Weaknesses, though. So, as I mentioned, Villa have started playing out from the back, and we've conceded quite a few goals lately from our own mistakes and lapse of concentrations from playing out in the back. So, Kamara is quite press resistant, but if Arsenal time their press right, they may be able to win the ball back before it reaches Kamara. So either Douglas Luiz would drop down to be a deep-lying playmaker, and I understand why we play out from the back from a goal kick. It's obviously to have more control of the ball, since Unai Emery is playing that possession-based football. So if you're able to intercept or get the ball before it reaches Kamara, you have a great chance of scoring a goal before we transition. And that's a major, major weakness. As I say, majority of the goals happen because of that. Transition phase is also one area where Villa are working on, but it's taken quite a while for us to actually get any better at it. What happens is that once we attack, we end up throwing one of our wingbacks forward to try and create more width. So when I say that when we attack, because obviously when we start the game, we start with the 4-4-2, and that usually ends up being our defensive formation as well under Unai Emery, because he presses in the 4-4-2, where Watkins and Bailey would try and target the centre-backs to stop any ball progression and win it up higher. But when we attack, we switch our formation to a 4-3-2-1, and Douglas Luiz, Kamara would be the double pivot, and either Jacob Ramsey would play the 10 or John McGinn, depending on who's on at the moment. Then what would happen is Emi Buendia would play on one wing and Leon Bailey would play the other wing with Watkins up front. When that happens and the opposition win the ball back from either us trying to build up possession in the midfield to break the mid block and push forward, we are too slow to regroup into the defensive formation of 4-4-2 and press to win the ball back. Our counter press is quite poor. We end up relying on trying to regroup without us actually winning the ball back instantly, because we just don't have that concentration and energy levels. And when that happens, it's very easy for the opposition to slice us apart. If you have either striker or winger running through the channel, playing those through balls past us creates a huge hole. And the only player that we have to combat that is Tyrone Mings. because Tyrone Mings is no nonsense defender. If he sees a ball running through his channel, he just clears it out and gives it the boots. Konza, in fairness, is good as well, but more often than not, one of the wing backs would have pressed up already to add that extra overlapping width, whether it's Lucas Dean or even Ashley Young, and that will only leave 3 defensive players now trying to block off the counter attack, and it's very easy for us to get overrun.
Very in depth, mate. So I'm glad I had you on the show, because you know Aston Villa better than I do. To be honest, I don't think I've actually done any watch-alongs this season of Aston Villa, which is crazy to first think. But I don't think I've done any. I can't think of any. And it's mad, because obviously I do a lot of watch-alongs for FTSN. I can't think of any Aston Villa ones I've done. I really can't. I can't think of any. I probably have seen them this season. There's no doubt of that. But I just don't think I've done a watch-along, I don't think. Right. Before the final 2 questions, which are more to do with your prediction for who might win the Premier League and our score predictions, which I always do at the end of the show, I did tell Ross that there is a challenge. Moss loves the challenge. Everyone loves the challenge. Why wouldn't you want to love a challenge? But it is time to do the challenge. Here's the video. Okay, so I did speak to Ross about, because obviously the rules of the game, it's always the home team's formation that we choose the team around. So because it's Aston Villa, and I might lose signal, so I do warn you that I might have to jump out, but Ross will handle the show anyway. He's a natural, because my signal has dropped drastically. But hopefully I'll manage to get through this before that happens. Right, so we've obviously gone for a 4-4-2 because Ross was happy with that. Yeah. Yep. Cool. Yep. Okay, so what we do always first, we do the opposition. So that is your team. So 5 players from Aston Villa, starting with your first one, please.
Okay. First one has to be Martinez. Put Martinez in that goal. Look, Ramsdale's been amazing. I'm not going to lie. Ramsdale has been really, really good this season for Arsenal. But it's Martinez. This is Martinez. This is the main man. Penalty stopper galore.
Right. Your next player, please.
Next one, Tyrone Mings, left centre back. Captain Mings. He's in there.
You know how much I hate this guy. I swear you've done that on purpose. You know I can't.
No. Look, let me tell you something, right? Tyrone Mings, right? Our win percentage when Tyrone Mings is out of the squad is only 15%. What? Only 15. I'm telling you, it's insane. What Mings brings to the Aston Villa side, you can't quantify in stats. Obviously, besides the fact when he's not there. But when he's there, you can physically see it with your own eyes how well we play with him.
I'll take your word for it. You know I can't stand him. Right, your third player, please.
Third player. This is tough.
See, I told you it's tough. You said you were so confident before the show. And I says, wait till you start doing it, because honestly, it becomes harder.
Okay, no, I've got it now. Kamara, it's got to be there.
Okay.
Kamara's got to be there.
He'll be at Arsenal soon as well. Fourth player, please.
Emi Buendia. Okay,
where do you want to put him?
Oh, hold on. You know, I actually thought this was easy. Then I realized Tomiyasu is still playing at Arsenal, still your right back. And I'm trying to think who's a better right back, Tomiyasu or Young.
Yeah. Well, don't forget Ben White as well. You can choose out of any of the Arsenal players when you get to the Arsenal.
So you're killing me here, Bobby.
See, I told you it's not as easy as you thought it was. Mr. I'm so confident before the show.
Oh, man.
So
Yeah.
who's your fourth then? Are you going to stick with Buendia?
Okay, let me tell you who I will take. I will take Watkins. Put Watkins up there. Watkins has to stay. Yeah, yes, please. Watkins is there.
All right, your fifth and final Villa player.
Bobby, okay, before I give you my fifth, tell me who's usually the starting right back at Arsenal when without Tomiyasu?
It is Ben White, yeah.
Ben White.
Yeah.
What happened to him? Is he injured now? Because I don't understand why he didn't.
Just a bit of bad form, so he's just been pulled. That's all. We've got quite a good squad depth now defensively. So you've got Zinchenko, you've got Tierney, Saliba, Holding, Kivior.
I haven't seen Tierney play in a while. I haven't seen him play.
I think Zinchenko is the first choice because of the way he's very adaptable with the system of play. So, and Tierney's just proper left back. He only knows how to be a left back. And to be honest, I've said this on stream before, so it's not going to be a shock to anyone. I think that is one player we might sell in the summer. Is Kieran Tierney, to be honest.
It's such a shame because he was really good at Arsenal when he first started out.
If you gave him just a left back job, it'd be brilliant. But he's being asked to do different things, and as being a right back myself, I wouldn't be able to do it either. I just know how to be a right back.
All right. Speaking of the right backs, put Ashley Young, please. Yeah. Only because I know that he'll be better than Tomiyasu.
Right, there we go. Right, so there is your 5 Villa. So now you get to choose the Arsenal. So the last centre back. Who would you like as the last centre back from the Arsenal?
Saliba or Gabriel? Can I pick Chambers just to take the piss because he was both Arsenal and Villa?
No, that is not. I am not changing the rules. No, that doesn't happen.
Okay, put Gabriel because he's in my fantasy. It's my fantasy team, so put him there.
Trust you to be talking about fantasy football on the air. Right, left back. Who are you choosing as the left back?
Zinchenko. Let's go. I saw Zinchenko play live last season when Villa played Man City on the last day of the season.
Yeah.
And Zinchenko came in at half-time and he transformed the game. Honestly, the way his positional awareness and the way he's able to exploit the space for a left back, it just cut us apart. It creates so much openings further up the field by just having one player actually create that space. It's weird. It almost makes a domino effect where if there's a space open here, another player tries to close it off and more spaces open up. It was quite interesting. I learned a lot that day, which was nice.
He's very good offensively. There are question marks defensively about him, but offensively, he's very good.
Very, very good.
So we're going to go with the final centre midfielder from the Arsenal, please.
Odegaard.
Okay.
Odegaard.
Right.
What a season he's having.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he does have a couple of blips. Last night's game was definitely a blip for him. But yeah, overall, he's been very good this season. A lot of the players have. There's been a couple of blips here and there, but that happens. So your right midfielder, like I need to ask. I think this is obvious. Is it Saka?
What? Why would you assume that?
Because most people do, to be honest.
What if I want to put Partey there and have a defensive right mid? How could you assume that?
Everyone's been choosing Saka.
All right, go and put it on Saka.
Yeah, right. Your left midfielder. Who are we going with?
Martinelli.
Yeah, everyone's doing the same. Right, now obviously you can choose Jesus if you want to, because that's the rule of the game. It doesn't matter if they're injured or not. Or Jesus.
Could Ben White attack the balls up front?
I like how you're trying to do this. But the thing is, your squad will be up against the squad that's created tomorrow by the Arsenal fans. and I do
I'm
actually say who's the winner.
technical genius. I'm a tactical genius because you know what's going to happen. Watkins, think about it. Watkins is going to press from the front, and then Ben White is going to be blocking. That's all he's going to do. He's going to be a roaming centre back. Yes, roaming centre back. He'll be there getting the tap-ins. He's got it. He's a fast man. I like it. I like that idea. You know what? I'm going to try that in my Football Manager save later. I'm going to buy Ben White. I'm just going to put him up there in a 4-4-2, set it to always press and man mark. He's going to man mark the opposite centre back, and he's going to be there grabbing those tap-ins. Yes. And then Watkins is going to curve the press so that the ball just travels to Ben White and just tackles. Yeah. Bobby, we've done something. I think we have transformed football. I think we've done it. With that being said, put in Jesus, please. Or Jesus.
Yeah, no worries. Right. So this is Ross's team eventually. He was willing to try and do some different interesting selections. But we have got Martinez, Young, Gabriel, Mings, Zinchenko. Then you've got Saka, Kamara, Odegaard, Martinelli. And then you've got Watkins and Jesus up front. It's not a bad lineup, but you know full well where the weakness is for me. It's a big glaring person at the back.
No. The weakness is in the linesmen. They won't be able to call up the offsides quick enough.
Right, I have put your name on it, and that will be used for tomorrow's show when the Arsenal guys do it. So that is downloaded. Thank you very much for doing that, Ross. Appreciate that. It's always fun doing it. I enjoy doing that. Let's see what Luke's been saying before I ask the last few questions. So this not go back to 4-4-2. Mike Bassett, England managed settings. Exactly. Good movie that is. If you ever get to watch it, go and watch it. Zinchenko is a midfielder. Play him there. He's in the team. Exactly. Odegaard was very good yesterday, laughing and hugging Haaland before. Yes, I didn't like that at half time, to be honest. I know the commentators commented on it, but I didn't like it. You're playing against each other. Leave that till after the game, not mid-game. That they kind of annoy me a little bit. Yeah, I find that quite annoying. Right, final two questions. First question, who do you think will win the Premier League this season? Honest opinion.
I still think Arsenal.
Okay, you still
think Arsenal. Yeah. The only reason I say that is because there will come a time during the season, more often than not, March or April, where you get to the latter stage of the Champions League. The Premier League starts heading to the run-in as well. There's a lot of pressure. And if it gets down to it, I know for a fact Manchester City will end up putting their all into the Champions League. And Arsenal are still... But that's not taking anything away from Arsenal. If Arsenal win the Premier League this season, it's because they've deserved it and they've worked hard for it. Not because City have treated it as a second-string competition and thrown it away. Arsenal still need a lot of work. They still need to put in a lot of work to win it. And I believe that they are able to work harder than Manchester City in the Premier League to win it.
Yeah. Yeah. I tried, what you've just said about Man City they will take their foot off the Premier League if the Champions League's there available for them, because that is what they want. Pep wants it. City definitely wants it. We're not going to go into the off-field antics right now until anything's been actually talked about and actually proven, because it's not right on City or City fans, to be fair, because I don't feel they're being treated very nicely right now, because it's not their fault. It could be no one's fault at the end of the day. Nothing might have actually been going on, but we'll see. Right, score prediction for Aston Villa versus Arsenal.
You're really going to do this to me?
I've got to do it. I predicted that Arsenal would lose 3-0 against City, because I'm you know me, I'm an honest, non-biased fan. I just see it how it is, and I was quite close last night, sadly. But this one I think is going to be tricky. I'm still unsure, even though I've asked you the question, but I've obviously got to give you my answer as well in a minute.
Oh man, I want to go for 2-2.
Okay, you're going to go for 2-2. See, I'm thinking goals as well. I think you might take a lead and we'll either crumble or we'll come back fighting hard.
Well, you know what frustrated me? I remember the last game we played against Arsenal. I actually think it was this season where Douglas Luiz scored from a corner.
Yeah.
And yes, and I remember it was a late night game as well. We had scored. I got excited. I was celebrating. Yeah, waking up the neighbors. 90 seconds later, or between 70 and 90 seconds later, Arsenal scored. I was like, what's the point? What's the point of this? So anticlimactical. And I feel like it's going to be one of those games again. It's always that against Arsenal.
Yeah, it's a 12:30 kickoff as well, isn't it, on a Saturday? Is that 1:30 for you, Ross?
No, that's 2:30 for us. Funny enough, you mentioned that time and kickoff on a Saturday. Another interesting stat for Aston Villa is out of our last 5 games that we played on a Saturday at 12:30, we've won 4.
I've got to do the watch along. I can't. Last night was bad enough. Last night was bad enough. But I think there will be a massive meltdown if the Arsenal lose to Villa at the weekend. Massive. Like it's been a bit of a wobble last night. But if we lose to Villa, that I think that might be the end.
And it almost looks like a banana skin type result for you guys. You need to get a win here, and all we've got to do is just play within ourselves and allow Arsenal to make mistakes, and hopefully we capitalize on it.
Yeah, it is. My prediction. I think Ollie Watkins will score a goal. I'm going to have to go with 3-2 to the Arsenal. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, 3-2 to the Arsenal. I think it's going to be I think you might take a 2-goal lead, to be honest. I really do. And it will either wake us up or we'll just lose. Which won't surprise me at all. But yeah, are you going to the public house? Because I know you go to this lovely, because I've seen a photo where you go and watch the football. Are you going there to go and watch the football?
Probably not. I might just end up being a good boy and staying at home on my best behavior. No, I'm not too sure. I haven't really planned it. But look, wherever I am, whether I'm at home or at the local pub, I just want to see Villa play well. I mean, the result for me at this point against Arsenal does not matter. Of course, we want to get a result. Even a draw would be fantastic. But I just want to see that desire and that improvement on performance. As long as I can see that, I'll be happy whatever the result is.
Oh, that's good then. Good. Big up to Luke, who's just said, I think City will walk away with it now. Predicted they will win it by 15 to 20 points at the start of the season. I'm sticking to that. Don't think it'll be that much. I think they'll probably win it probably 8-9 points, maybe. It depends how they do, because that I've said all season, and I spoke to the Man City fan last week or the week before. And it was last Sunday I spoke to. So many different previews I do. I get lost where I am. And I said I don't find City very interesting to watch. And I said to him, I do apologise, but this is how I feel, because I do a lot of watch-alongs and I just find them boring. And he says, you know what? So do I. And that's coming from a City fan. I think they could quite easily lose a couple again this season. And yeah, I think it's going to be close. I couldn't predict it now. And I've always said I'm not going to say anything until March. And it's not March. End of March, by the way. End of March, not March, just a couple of weeks. But yeah, he's gone for a 2-0 win to Villa. I can see that happening. Also, I'm thinking, am I now on a Villa podcast? Because this doesn't feel like an Arsenal one right now. Big up to Craig AFC 87. He's predicted a Villa to win 2-1. I have put those predictions down. But that is the end of the show. Big up to Ross. Where can everyone find you, mate?
Well, I'm always on the FTSN show with the Football Lounge We've been missing you, Bobby. You need to come back.
I will be back.
You see, on our lounge, we have a nice sofa with your name on it. Even got nice cushions. You've been neglecting us. But yes, you can find me there every Tuesday night with the lads chatting football.
Exactly. You'll find me here and on Full Time Sports Network. I am there, I promise. I'm just unfortunately just doing watch-alongs. I've got 3 this weekend. I've got another preview to do tomorrow. I'll have a little bit of a break next week, thankfully, from streaming. But then I'll be cracking back on with it again because Arsenal are back playing Leicester. Then we've got Everton on the Wednesday. It's just going to be manic again for the Arsenal in a couple of weeks. So this will be the last week that I have. Big up to Ben Ackle Marquez. I played for Essex County Youth Darts team. I'm in the under-21s Essex. Next tournament to my Berkshire is about a 2-hour drive. I'm going up to. Big up to you. I am an Essex boy myself. So
good luck, Ben.
Exactly. Good luck. And we are done. Thank you ever so much. And sorry, Ross, but I've got to be said, come on, you Gunners.